Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
As you notice, Juana having a little voice problem today.
Just a little bit, but
So,
just bear with me and you'll be able to hear me.
so Avi, I think our epic Danube River Eastern European trip took the wind out of her. So, anyway, but like we literally landed and we're like immediately working.
Yes.
And we've been working nonstop since we got back. Okay. So with that being said, I read this article. We're going to discuss it. The title of the article, Housing Market Crash, 3 Real Estate Signals Predicting a Plunge. I thought, oh my gosh, we have to go through and look at the article because obviously they've found maybe the crash bros are right. Maybe there is going to be a real estate crash. And we're going to look at these 3 real estate signals.
Right. So let's dive in and figure out what the signals are.
Oh.
So we're sure that you probably know the first one, but we're going to go ahead and go through it anyway.
Okay. There's only ever really been one, not counting the Great Depression, one actual real estate crash, housing crash. And that was residential real estate started in 2006, actually started before 2008. 2008 was when the banks and stuff started failing, but the real estate started substantial price decline starting in 2006. Massive oversupply of homes. There were way more homes being built. Builders were building the most homes they'd ever built. And so here's the first quote from the article. But this isn't one of the 3 they mentioned, because when you read this, when you hear this, you're going to say, wait a minute, that's not happening right now. Okay. One such signal is the saturation of the market with excessive housing inventory. When the supply of homes surpasses demand, it can exert downward pressure on prices. Juana, housing inventory is literally the lowest it's ever been.
Correct. So clearly that's not a signal right now that we are on the verge of a real estate crash. We have insufficient inventory, not excess inventory. So we can cross that one out.
Okay. So the first one it listed was building permits are down. Juana, do you believe this is an actual, this is literally, you would think the opposite. If they're building less new homes, how does that crash the market? Because that doesn't make any sense.
Right. So it obviously doesn't crash the market if they're building less new homes, because then we have less inventory.
Okay.
So that's not one of them. Hang on, guys.
Okay. All right. I will read the next thing here. The U.S. News Housing Market Index predicts a peak in March, then a decline to around 71,000 in April. This is new home permits. This is a significant decrease compared to March 2022's peak of 107,400 permits, indicating a slowdown in new home construction. Juana, this is more that ridiculous comparison to the spring of 2022, which was the mad rush to buy a house before interest rates went up. So how does that, you can't keep comparing everything to last spring.
The same way you can't keep comparing, anything to when you were 18, right? None of us are going to be 18 again, and that was a once in a lifetime event, and we need to move on.
Okay. Despite low confidence among builders, it does not necessarily imply an imminent housing market crash or new housing bubble. In fact, their cautious approach may help avert future problems by avoiding excessive construction. So they literally say that housing permits down are going to crash the market, but then they say the opposite of that within the body of the article.
So look, the bottom line is we're not building enough houses. We know that. This is not a news flash to any of us. So we've got low inventory and we're not building enough houses. So that's 2 things we can cross off the list that would cause a housing crash.
Okay, that's actually that was the first one.
Well, okay.
Oh yeah, because there's the second thing, debt default could trigger a housing market crash. Apparently the housing market is so fragile. Everything has to be perfect. Literally everything has to be perfect. The Dallas Cowboys have to win every game, and nothing but there can be no car wrecks. Or else everything is going to cause housing to crash. So
Okay.
this is another thing, how the debt default. Nobody's actually been able to explain this.
Right. So whether the debt default happens or not, which by the way, I don't think that's going to happen, um, it's not going to impact housing. Certainly not long term. Short term, it's just going to breed uncertainty in the market, and that's going to cause some wild fluctuations in the short term. But in the long term, it doesn't mean anything. Because I mean, those of us that have been around for a while, we remember the sequester, we remember the government shutdowns. We remember all these things, and they had no meaningful impact on housing.
In the event of a U.S. debt default, Zillow projects a substantial decline in existing home sales. Estimates suggest there could be a plunge of up to 23% by September. So, first of all, the A in Zillow stands for accuracy. Okay? So they don't know. And first of all, this is not home prices. This is sales, numbers of sales. Plunge by up to 23% from what? From last fall or last spring? Like, they don't even quote what this is a 23% of. And yes, and if they say from the spring, it's always less in September than the spring. They're not predicting anything magical that's going to happen. It's like, I was reading this, saying this is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever read.
We've read a lot of ridiculous things.
Okay. Now, although the potential consequence of U.S. debt default on the housing market are concerning, it's important to note that these projections are based on hypothetical scenarios. Congress is widely expected to agree to raise the debt ceiling ultimately. So, first of all, they just did. Literally tonight, we're filming this Saturday night, they came to an agreement. There's going to be some spending cuts. They're going to raise the debt limit. It's going to take it out into after the presidential election, so the next president, whoever that is, can deal with this, right? But this has all been resolved. So they told you in the article that the default was going to crash the housing market, but then the evidence they gave was sales would be down, and then the amount they gave, the sales would be down. It's the normal amount they're down from every single spring we've ever had since the dinosaurs roamed the earth until September. They're always down about 25% or so. Okay. And then they literally acknowledge in the article, no, that really is not going to crash the housing market.
So should I say something about the politicians kicking the can down the road as usual? Or
no, let's not talk about the debts, because we have different opinions on that. I mean, yes, than maybe a lot of them have on it. Okay. Here's the third thing: a likely economic slowdown. Okay, that's going to crash because every time there's been a recession, right? The housing market's completely crashed.
No.
Pennies on the dollar.
No.
Pennies on the dollar, Juana.
No, we've done lots of videos on this. Recessions do not equal loss in home value. As a matter of fact, in most recessions, homes continue to appreciate.
Okay. During a recession, the housing market experiences a slowdown as potential buyers become hesitant due to job insecurity. This hesitation can lead to a slight increase in foreclosures caused by the inability to pay mortgages. Okay. There's so much wrong with this. First of all, it takes 950 days on average to foreclose on somebody. A couple months of job losses. And we're not talking everybody. We're talking unemployment, increasing by 3 or 4% max.
Right. And then within those unemployment numbers are going to be people who are renting. There are going to be people who are in multiple income households. So very few would actually be that substantially negatively impacted by a job loss to result in a delinquency, let alone a foreclosure.
86% of all homes are either free and clear or have mortgages under 4%. Mm-hmm. Only 14% have mortgages over 4%. Those people are not just going to let their house be foreclosed because they will never get that interest rate back. So right. It's not like this myth that like if you lose your job the next day, so this is how it works. Your employer calls and goes, hey. They don't even call, they send you a text message and go, hey. look, we have to lay some people off because we heard there was a recession, so that just means we have to lay people off. We're laying you off. Then the next text message you get your bank, and they said the foreclosure sale's tomorrow, and you're like, what? I'm current on my payments. Yep, we're foreclosing because we just found out from your employer you lost your job, so we're foreclosing tomorrow.
Or
Can
not.
they do that?
Or not. Let's go with not. No, look, it takes a long time to foreclose on somebody, so that means that they're going to have to go through the whole delinquency process, mitigation, all of that. So it takes a long time. It takes, like Todd said, nearly 3 years. So that's a long time. And that assumes that this person is not going to get another job, that this person has no family or friends or savings or anything else to help them out. And as much as we are all the only one on our personal island, I think that most of us probably have somebody out there who can help us out for the short term. And then, of course, there's unemployment too. Not that unemployment covers all your bills, but it does help. People do have some savings, and people will get another job, and they'll work something out with their lender. Lenders do not want to foreclose. Foreclosure is expensive. It's unpopular. It's bad optics for the lender. So they really don't want to do that. Lenders do want to work with you. The point of that is, if you do happen to find yourself in that situation where you are unable to make a mortgage payment, contact your lender. Start a conversation. They have programs to help you out.
Okay. This is how bad things are right now in the economy. As of April 18th, the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta estimates a further increase of 2.5% in the first quarter of 2023. Now, that was the growth of the economy. The economy grew at 2.5%. In April, the Bureau of Labor Statistics recorded a notably low unemployment rate of only 3.4%. Now, remember, this article just came out yesterday. I don't know what data he's using. Obviously, he's behind on his data. But the jobs report in April was absolutely fantastic. We created a ton of jobs, and unemployment's the lowest it's ever been, ever. So there's still 9 million jobs that haven't been filled. So all those people who lose jobs will be able to get other jobs.
Right. They may not find the same job. They may not even be in the same industry, but they will find jobs.
Or they'll just do something else. They'll figure something out. Now here's the kicker. While these indicators do not suggest a recession, so they're acknowledging that none of this shows a recession, most experts agree that a recession will likely occur in 2023. How? That is pretty non-committal. Most experts likely occur. But they said the same thing last year. It was we were going to have one in 2022. And we actually did. We had 2 quarters of negative growth. And then they go, oh, we're not going to count that. We redefined a recession. That's not really a recession. 2 quarters of negative growth isn't a recession. So let's talk about that. We had negative growth, and we have had tech companies shed jobs, right?
Yes, we have.
So home prices have tanked last year, right?
They have not.
In the spring, Juana, when we were having negative growth, didn't home prices go down?
They did not, sir.
They didn't go down. What about right now? Because aren't they going down now?
They're not going down now either. We have multiple offers.
Oh, okay.
Homes are selling. If your home is priced well, if your home is attractive to buyers, your home will sell. If your home is priced optimistically, your home will not sell. If your home is not attractive to buyers, your home will not sell. But this is no different than any other market.
Here's my prediction. We will never see the level of foreclosures that we had anywhere near during the housing crash, 2006 to 2012. Not even close. We actually, the last 3 years, have had the lowest number of foreclosures since the 1950s. It's ridiculously low. And the reason it's low is because we have more people than ever own their house free and clear, over 40%. We have a ton of people who have such low interest rates that own their house that they're actually using that money to save, invest, and pay off other debt. Mm-hmm. It's like the people who got those 2.5% mortgage loans are on this super highway to wealth building.
They are. And then we also have 30% of homes being purchased cash out there. So let's not forget that. So all of this provides a lot of support for home values because that means that homeowners are not distressed, or certainly not enough of them are distressed to cause any sort of substantial loss in real estate value.
A year ago, you were told there would be massive foreclosures by now. It never happened. That interest rates would be so high no one would be able to afford to buy. Home prices well 40 to 50%. In most of the country, 2/3 of the country, home prices are up year over year. There's about 5 markets where they're down more than 3%. Mm-hmm. Vegas is what, San Francisco is the most. Vegas is one of them, correcting back because home prices have started going up again here in Vegas. Mm-hmm. We have probably highest employment we've ever had, and Vegas is experiencing the most growth.
It is. That
we've ever seen. With, they're going to be building a new stadium for a baseball team. There's 2 new massive hotel complexes that are going to be finished here in the next year. That'll bring in a bunch of people. 600 annual events taking place in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Formula One, the whole thing. It's going to be pretty crazy here. 80,000 people a year moving here, and home builders are not building enough homes.
Right.
So there's literally nothing indicating nationally or in Vegas that housing is going to crash. Like all of the indicators you would think don't exist. They're just made up. People are making stuff up for YouTube clicks to make ad revenue. They're doing the same thing with other political topics. But okay, so here's the funny thing. I went and looked at the guy that wrote the article. He's not okay. His expertise listed in his own bio, SPACs. He's a SPAC guy. I don't know what he did with SPACs. Okay, special purpose acquisition company. It's a way to take a company public before an IPO, and then the other one is cryptocurrency, which should raise like hairs on the back of your neck when you hear somebody's a cryptocurrency expert, that's his qualification for residential real estate and understanding what's going on in the housing market. The problem is some relatively major, widely distributed news thing online or online place gave him a platform to talk and to say this. And if you Google real estate news, it showed up. It showed up as one of the first 3 or 4. And I saw it and went, oh my God. So other people won't even click on it. They'll see that and they'll be like, real estate's going to crash.
Right.
And they've been bombarded with this for 4 years. And for 4 years, I mean, Wanda, what about the people we're not saying it's a good time to buy. We're just saying, what about the people in 2019 that didn't buy because they were told the housing market was going to crash? That's when this started. It started in 2013, and then it went away because home prices kept going up. But then it came back out in 2019.
So if you bought a house in 2019, you have equity. That's all I have to say about that.
40%. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah. And
even if you bought it 100%, meaning you just 100% financing on the house, you now have 40% equity in the house.
Right. So
if you paid $300,000 for the house, it's worth $500,000.
So I'm going to address 2 things that you talked about. One was the recession, and even a broken clock is right twice a day. Eventually, there will be a recession. Okay, that's a given. Whether it's going to be this year, next year, we don't know. But what we do know is that historically, real estate values continue to rise during a recession. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the inventory from the lens of building. One of the things that is causing building to not go gangbusters is lack of labor. So we had the problem with lack of labor and materials during the pandemic, and now we have the problem of lack of labor. With unemployment being so low, we know that there really isn't any more labor to pull from. So that's going to be a limiting factor to building more houses. And that's going to be a long-term thing. This is not a short-term situation. We know we do not have the skilled trades that we once had. People have gone out and done other things. And the people that are in construction at the moment, there just are not enough of them to be able to build all the housing that we need.
Interest rates are not substantially high enough. I mean, Barbara Corcoran did a video, we talked about this yesterday on the last video, saying if you wait for interest rates to go down to buy a house, you're going to be competing with a ton of people, and home prices will start accelerating, going up again, and they'll just be paying more for the same house. So what she said was, if you find a house you really like, buy the house, suck it up and deal with it, and when interest rates fall, you can refinance the house. But why wait until it's hard to buy a house to then, because it's, there's this panacea that people have where, we've met some of them. We met them 2 years ago, 2021. They sold their house and became a renter because they were told the housing market was going to crash. So they got some real estate agent to list their house and sell it, told them, come back in a year, you'll be able to buy the house 40% cheaper. Of course, now that same house they sold is probably worth 20 to 30% more than it was 2 years ago. They've been paying rent, which is a lot more than what their mortgage was. Mm-hmm. And they basically have lost. Now they're probably locked out of the housing market. It's be very difficult for them to get back in the housing market.
Right. So we've talked about this before. The people in the housing market are okay. The people that are out of the housing market, those are the people that are going to have a hard time participating, because as they're saving money, housing continues to increase, right? So a lot of times that's actually eating into the amount of down payment that they have, because housing continues to increase in value, rents continue to increase, which means that the amount that they can save is decreasing. So that's a problem. The other thing is, of course, they're not getting subsidized by the government on their rent the way they would with the mortgage payment through the mortgage interest tax deduction. So there are all kinds of reasons why people who are not in housing are going to have a hard time participating in housing.
This is what I predict. People that are renters are at a huge disadvantage to current homeowners, because this is what's going to happen. Imagine this. You have a house in San Diego and you're going to move to Vegas, okay? And you've decided, you know what? Why would I have a 3% interest rate on this house in San Diego, and my house payment's $1,800, and my house will get $3,000 a month in rent. So why would I sell that house? Why won't I just keep it as a rental and then go to Vegas and buy a house? Now, because of this difference in what you're paying in a mortgage and what you're getting in cash, you have more income than another person who does the same job as you. Not only that, you've been saving money at a higher rate, because a renter who's thinking about buying a house is paying more in rent, and you've been paying less in mortgage. So you have more money for down payment. So you're in a way better position to buy a house. And the number of people, I think, in the next decade, two things are going to happen. The number of people who own investment properties will increase because people won't be getting out of them. As boomers die, I think the kids will inherit the house and not sell it. That's what I'm seeing from friends of mine that are they're having older parents die, and when I ask them if they need help selling or whatever, they go, no, we're going to keep this around, right? And then the next thing that I predict is going to happen is the level of underbuilding will not be able to keep up with household formations. So you're just going to find this widening dichotomy of, you have two sides of the equation. You have people who own, homes, in that amount of time people spend in a house, homeowners, is going to increase 13, 15 years, something like that. It used to be 7 years. Every 7 years, people would, on average, sell. And I think that's a big change.
Right. Yeah, the last census said that people are staying in their house a little over 10 years. We're probably going to see the next time that they look at those numbers probably are going to jump to probably about 12 years, and they may jump even higher as time goes on, because the people with these low interest rates on their mortgages will continue to either live in those homes or keep them as rentals.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to slam people who are doing, cryptocurrency and things like that. But this guy doesn't know anything. He literally doesn't know anything about housing. The article was absolutely, completely made up. It was just, as I read it, I'll put a link to it in the description. You can go read the article. It absolutely didn't make any sense. It was anything that changed, housing would immediately crash. And here we've had 100 years since the last major, depression, basically. And we had one time, and it was a unique set of times with bad lending, massive overbuilding, and 4 million homes on the market that nobody would buy.
Right. And we do not have bad lending at the moment. We've had stringent lending since for the last 12 years, 15 years. So we've had much more stringent lending, so that's not a possibility. And we do not have an oversupply of homes. We have an undersupply of homes. So,
Under 600,000 nationally.
So that's not going to crash the market.
It's 88% less. It's like 12% of the number of homes we had 15 years ago.
Right. So what do you think? Does this make sense to you? What are you seeing in your market? Where are you watching from? We want to hear from you. Leave us a comment. We like your comments. We try to respond or at least give you a thumbs up on all of your comments. We do read them and we appreciate them. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.